since our last recording. And this is 9/16/11, by the way, so you'll have a time and space to go into. And I've come to this place about home, and now when I'm readdressing and looking at it again inside, I find that home is a lot like a piece of art. And it has all the same components as a piece of art would have. Because the first thing you need to have in order to find or to be calling someplace a home is a definition of the space. So you draw a ring around, in the case of domes and mud houses, and the way you make them. You either draw a ring around or you draw a square or a rectangle around a space, and that space becomes the sacred space. And then everything you bring into that space, all the components, that once they get in there, your job, or the job of you and your partner or your family, is to harmonize all those parts within that space so that each part relates to the other part in a harmonious way. They're ringing the same note, they're playing the same tunes, and they may not be ringing the same note, but the notes that they're ringing are in resonance with the other notes. It's kind of like singing a cappella, a whole bunch of people together. Singing inside the home is a perfect way to look at it, or each one has a color, and all those colors need to be harmoniously relating to one another, or each one becomes a shape. And each one of those person's shapes has to fit harmoniously into the other shapes of the other people who occupy the home in order for it to be a home. And then finally, when all those things come together, and sometimes they only come together for brief moments, we call those moments golden moments. And from those golden moments radiates an energy of light and love and compassion and sharing and caring, and it goes out and it touches other people who are outside the home, and they go, oh, this space makes me feel really good because it's where I want to go, it's what I would like to attain, this sacred space in harmony with all the parts working together. And so for me, that's what a home is. It's a place where you come together, you create a sacred space, and then you work with each other and you work with all the components that are inside the home in order to create a radiant energy that goes out and touches and heals and blesses other people with something that you have, the treasure that you have brought together and maintained. Because it's not like you get there and all of a sudden like, oh, well, now I have a perfectly harmonious home and it's radiating energy and I don't have to do anything else. No, it's a moment to moment, a minute to minute, an hour to hour, a day to day, week to week, year to year project that goes on and on and on. And it requires continuous adjustment and nurturing and space for each other to be able to create those things that work with the other people. And then more on a cosmic scale, I think of thinking of home. I think of going inward, and this is starting out on the level of where we live, and we think of light and matter, and so home for matter is where you go deep inside and you find the molecules, and then you find the atoms, and then you find the parts inside the atoms, and then you find what's inside the parts that are inside the atoms that are on the deepest level, and it's vibrating energy. And that energy is light, vibrating at the highest frequencies, and we've only recently been able to attain information from this in a measured way, as opposed to just a cosmic psychic way where the mystics and the deep meditators get there and they found this space, but no one until recently has been able to And they're still attempting to, because they haven't got to that deepest level yet, but they know it's there and they're searching for it. That's what the Great Hadron Collider is over there in Belgium, that everyone thinks that when they get there that there'll be this giant black hole that will suck up the Earth and there'll be nothing left. But we don't think that is going to happen. And then if you go out the other direction and you go out, instead of going inward into the microcosmic energies of the macrocosm, you go outward into the worlds and the spaces that are beyond our planet and our solar system and our galaxy. And you just keep going out and further out, and we realize that out there is everything that has ever existed in multiplicity. There's many yous, there's many me's, there's many planets, there's many, everything that's here is infinitely reproduced, and it's all connected. And when you can go out that way and find home as well, because out there is the intelligence and the consciousness and the awareness of what it is to be integrated as a wholeness. And it all works as a harmony, and it all works together. And when it doesn't work together, it's just like us having a spat in the home with a partner. All this stuff gets shook up, and it's shaking it up, and then it has to reassemble itself in a more harmonious relationship. And this is what happens on a grand scale, and this is infinitely large and big beyond our comprehension. And it also is what happens on an inner microcosmic understanding of where it all comes from. And I've talked about this in my talks, how what I see is the basic fluctuations of reality, or all possible realities, is there's this dance going on, and it's light becoming denser and denser and denser until it becomes matter, and it manifests as solid things. And then there's matter, which is moving towards light, and it eventually comes to a place where it dissolves into higher frequencies of light and no longer has a material body, but its consciousness and its presence is still there, and it's everywhere at that point. When it becomes solid, it believes it's a singularity, an individuated particle. And when it becomes total light, it understands that it's connected to everything, and it feels everything, and it's part of the whole. And the process of going in and out, of becoming total light at a high frequency energy and becoming totally solid matter, like the center of a black hole, where everything is so dense that everything that touches it gets sucked in. But the opposite side of the black hole is the pulsar, which shoots out high energy beams of light that go out and create new energy fields and new stars and new planets and new galaxies and new worlds and all new possibilities. That's my idea of what home is. And if you can connect with the home at the deepest inner level, and then connect with the home at the greatest possible level, then you have home as a complete entity. And an only way that I believe that you can get to those places is to have your own individual sacred space that you either have for yourself or you share with another in a family. And when that gets into enough harmony and radiance, then all those energies that come out go out and connect and bring the information into you via the light, because light is the carrier of all information, and in light is everything, and everything that we can possibly know or understand. And so then it all gets decoded, and you can start working with that and bringing more and more into your own harmonious space and expanding its potentiality to make and manifest change, not just for yourself, but for others, not by proselytizing or by evangelical process, but by sheer energy that people, when they're on that threshold themselves and they feel it, they go, ah, that's where it's at. Let me look into that deeper. And so you provide a space and you provide the information by being, not by necessarily preaching or teaching in the sense of like, oh, please teach me this, because that's what has to happen. The person has to feel it. You can't teach someone something they're not ready to learn. That's why I think that the idea of secrecy is pretty crazy, because if you're not there, you're not going to understand the secret. And the secret is within each of us.